Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Shear, and I'm the head of digital marketing at Claravine. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, just some quick housekeeping. Everyone is muted, so please submit any questions you have via the chat. If we don't get to your question during the Q&A, we will send you a follow-up response. And we are recording this webinar, and we will send you a replay when it's done. Our presenters today are Chris Comstock, Claravine's Chief Product Officer, and Gary Sulentic, Director of Product Marketing at Bitly. Chris has more than 15 years of experience working as a consultant, brand, and product leader for a variety of top companies, including Adobe and Oracle. Gary has more than 20 years of marketing experience, including leadership roles at Intuit, Autodesk, Dropbox, and more. Claravine is the leader in digital experience data management, with over 3,500 brands globally using our software to standardize, enrich, and connect marketing data across teams and channels. We help you achieve the marketing precision needed to drive conversions across every customer touchpoint. Gary, can you tell us more about Bitly and then dive into why brand experiences matter?
You bet. Hi, this is Gary. So at Bitly, we believe that every influencer in business, no matter their size or stage of growth, should take advantage of short branded call to action links that maximize the impact of every digital initiative. And our complete link management platform has the tools, the analytics, and the insights they need in order to do it. Bitly's been around for over 10 years, and in that time, we've proven to be both trustworthy and secure. And these numbers speak for themselves. Every single month, Bitly users generate 200 million links, and 20 billion Bitly links get clicked on each month. We have an open and flexible API that gets 900 million API calls per month. That just shows you how integrated we are with other systems like Claravine and how many influencers and businesses trust Bitly with their links. Speaking of which, 2 out of 3 of the Fortune 500 also use Bitly. I'd like to start today's presentation with a subject many of our customers come to us about: branding. Everyone wants to know how they can make their brand stand out. But before we answer that, it's important to consider a few other questions. Why does your brand matter? Why spend time building it up? What's at stake? Well, your brand is your business's most valuable asset. It's foundational to everything you do. Brand experience matters to critical business initiatives, whether it's generating more leads, growing brand advocacy, building trust with customers, or ultimately increasing sales. When it comes to creating your brand, every single touch point counts. From a prospect's first visit to your website, to the verification email they receive once they've made a purchase. And once you've invested in establishing your brand, the next steps are to protect and leverage it. This is where maintaining a consistent, distinguishable experience for your audience really comes into play. Why is this important? Well, it gives you an edge over your competition. It's your brand and it's distinctly yours. People don't confuse you with your competitors. It builds trusted, meaningful connections. Your audience sees your brand and its content as reputable and trustworthy. This trust plays a critical role in your brand's ability to retain customers and attract new ones. And trust is also critical to driving more engagement with your brand.
Thanks, Gary. I think everyone can relate to the desire to create the best brand experiences, but in most enterprises, this is easier said than done. If we think about the number of teams, business units, and platforms involved in creating each brand experience, it is very difficult to ensure there is a standardization and consistency. Each team creating an experience ideally wants to better understand how the campaign or experience they create performed, which all funnels into the analytics team to reconcile. Once your analytics team receives all of the activity, they're doing their best to understand and analyze the data. One thing at Claravine we consistently hear is the struggle around ensuring digital marketing spend is consistently and accurately tracked. In fact, the percentage of total marketing coverage can be as low as 30%. Organizations are employing as many as 91 point solutions spanning multiple teams, each with different tracking taxonomies, meaning performance data flows with no consistent format or process. When metadata invariably flows inconsistently or even inaccurately, teams end up investing massive amounts of time cleaning the data with limited success. Furthermore, the lack of data clarity means that teams are left to manage agencies based on the data the agency provides, providing limited means to hold them truly accountable. The end result is that expensive analytics implementations, whether they're in Google, Adobe, or custom builds, are held hostage to bad data. Data accuracy becomes a question. Teams spend more time cleaning and arguing about the data than actually using the data, and agencies operate without governance. Most importantly, marketing teams lack the rich insights they need to optimize spend, drive attribution models, and create personalized experiences at scale. So let's look at why this is happening. Every time a marketer launches a campaign, they're creating a tracking code. Now take that and think about it from every team that's involved, different channels, different agencies, all creating their own tracking codes. And assuming that they're creating the tracking codes, you have some teams who may not actually create a tracking code so you can understand the performance in Adobe Analytics. In addition to that, they're also providing different pieces of information and collecting that information that could be used in analytics, but isn't making its way into your analytics reports. And not every team is going to go through and validate each landing page to ensure it's working. All the data is being collected, your marketing tags are working on the page. And the most important part of launching a campaign is making sure that everything's working correctly so your customers receive the right experience and the data flows into the right systems. After implementing Claravine, you can see now there's consistency across teams and channels. All the required data is tracked across those teams and connected directly into the analytics platforms or teams to be able to use that data for any analytics or optimization of those campaigns. Not only does the level of confidence increase for each marketer to launch a campaign, but the trust in analytics it provides increases across the organization. Here's just an example from one of our clients of the before and after of their campaign tracking sheet, where the tracking codes are now standardized and all the data is correctly mapped. You can see that teams are creating codes, but the campaign data wasn't necessarily required or shared. And now with Claravine, they're able to standardize everything from tracking codes to the metadata that they capture. The benefits of a governed process can have a number of impacts across the company. For analytics platforms and teams, you see improved accuracy and unified cross-channel insights. For marketing teams, you're able to create richer, more targeted audience profiles while improving content performance. And overall, more personalized experiences and increased digital engagements are achieved because you have better data to make better business decisions. And now we're going to spend some time talking about 4 key ways to create better brand experiences using Bitly and Claravine. So first, we start with standardizing your data taxonomy. So you want to align your teams and your different marketing platforms around a common data model and make sure that that platform aligns into your analytics platforms and teams. And then define a standard tracking code convention. So ensuring that that tracking code is unique across all those different teams and platforms. The next step is allowing marketers to manage that data around their campaign since they're closest to the context of the campaign or the content. So being able to have a self-service creation of the compliant tracking codes and creation of those Bitly links. The second step there is to have automatic validation of that campaign readiness. So once that Bitly link's created to the specific landing page, understanding that everything's set up before you post that content or launch the campaign. And having a governed workflow across those teams and platforms to manage their campaign data and links, including any of the teams that need to use and create Bitly links. Number 3, being able to connect and optimize that metadata for richer insight. So being able to take that defined data model and map that into the different analytics systems, which could be Adobe Analytics, Google Analytics, or even into internal data warehouse applications. Also being able to control the data flow across teams and channels and manage the data structure as updates come. So if you do need to change the data model, being able to have that change instantly applied to all the different teams that need to create new campaign data.
So once you've set up your campaign tracking using Claravine, and you've used the Bitly integration to shorten those long UTM-enabled links into Bitly links, it's time to begin sharing out your content and evaluating the click data on that content. Now, to really understand the value of these metrics, let's talk about a fundamental issue that Bitly was designed to solve for marketers. Every digital marketer knows the struggle of trying to compare how different platforms are helping your brand meet its goals, since individual platforms measure metrics differently. With Bitly, you get the same metrics across all your channels, streamlining channels and initiatives and helping to resolve the infamous apples to oranges challenges around your data and analytics. Is there a certain piece of content helping drive conversions with a subset of your audience? Well, if so, you can empower your sales team with this information. Did one case study attract more clicks than another? If so, you can share it more broadly across all your communication channels. Just as importantly, understanding what doesn't work can help your team know where to scale back on investments. Maybe your team is testing out marketing to a new audience, and you want to understand whether your current social media following will engage with the new content you've developed for that audience. With Bitly, you'll see total clicks, referring channels, and locations information, so you can decide whether investing in creating more content for this new audience is worth your team's time and resources. And why is this important? Well, understanding how your links perform helps you optimize every customer communication. And that creates better digital experiences for the people you're targeting. Now that we've covered how to implement better data governance to alleviate some common digital marketing pain points, I want to talk to you about how you can put that data to work to enhance the digital experiences your prospects and customers have with your brand. If I told you that you can use Bitly to improve your click-through rate by up to 34%, would you want to learn how? Well, if you're like most of our prospects and customers, I'm going to guess the answer is yes. Not only can you use Bitly to hide those long UTM parameters, you can also make sure that each short link you create highlights your brand by taking advantage of something called a custom domain. A custom domain allows you to create branded links. For example, BuzzFeed uses a custom domain bzfd.it. Instead of sharing generic bit.ly links, which actually give Bitly a brand impression every time you share one, your brand collects that impression. And it's a great cycle. You share a branded link, it attracts more clicks because people recognize your brand name on the links and trust that they're safe. Then Bitly captures data on every click, so you get a suite of metrics that tell you how your content is performing across your channels and which content is driving the most engagement for your brand. Now, this goes back to the importance of building, protecting, and leveraging your brand that we talked about earlier. By having your brand in your links, your audience knows they can trust the source, so they're more likely to click on them, hence the higher click-through rate with branded links compared to bit.ly links. Here are just a few examples of how ESPN, Amazon, and Nike have taken advantage of custom domains to share branded links across their channels. Every link you share is a brand impression. For example, if you share a post on Twitter and it gets shared by an influencer with a large following and there's a branded link in it, your brand will gain new impressions every time one of the followers of that influencer sees the post. In fact, we have a unique feature called auto branding, which ensures that anytime someone tries to shorten one of your branded links using Bitly, Bitly will automatically use your custom domain instead of the bit.ly, further increasing the reach of your brand. The bottom line is links are not only the portal your audience uses to navigate from one area of your customer experience to the next, they're also assets you can leverage to promote and extend your brand and better understand how your audience is engaging with your communications.
Thanks, Gary. One of our early adopters shared a few of her thoughts. So Brittany from one of our top financial services company. First, for her team, it was the integration between Bitly and Claravine allowed her to quickly and easily manage the campaign data and creation of those Bitly links in a single workflow. And second, they were able to manage and connect all of the additional context around those links and the metadata of where the link was placed and supporting content and map those into their analytics system such that the analytics team could then use that for information.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Gary. To learn more about Claravine and Bitly, here are a couple of links for you to visit after the presentation, and we'll send these out along with the recording. And it does look like we do have a few questions to answer here, so I'll leave it to Gary and Chris to answer them, and I'll read them all off. Great. First question here. For Bitly, actually, how many links are some of your larger customers generating on a monthly basis?
It's a good question. A lot in a word. We have an e-commerce website, for example, that uses our API, and they generate millions and millions of links on a monthly basis, tens of thousands of links per hour in some cases. So Bitly is able to handle large volumes at the enterprise level. On top of that volume, we've got a really strong historic uptime rate of 99.9% over 11 years. So customers are sure that links are going to work even when they're generating millions of them. ERM's ParcelNet, it's the second largest package delivery service in the UK, uses Bitly for their SMS tracking solutions. And they came to us because they wanted to convert their end-to-end SMS experience. And they did it by leveraging our API. They swapped out, they were using long URLs, and they swapped them out for short branded Bitly links. And as a result, their communications that they send out via SMS are able to actually deliver more information because the short link uses up less of the SMS message, so they can put more information in there and keep their brand front and center. And by the way, ERM's ParcelNet uses about over 100 million links a year easily. And in certain months, it spikes well above 10 or even 20 million links a month. So some big volume.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. The next question we have here, I think both Chris and Gary can answer this separately. What other tools do your platforms integrate with?
Yeah, I'll take the first part of that. So we're pretty proud of our API. It's really flexible. Individuals use it, businesses use it to integrate with pretty much any marketing or CRP application. We endeavor to create really seamless experiences. We've done a good job with that. Some tools, just some examples, IFTTT, Salesforce, Buffer, Hootsuite, HubSpot, Spreadfast, and Sprout Social are just a few examples of some of the integrations that we work with.
Yeah, and on the Claravine side, so in terms of importing data, so we have ways to automate the data governance for Facebook Ads Manager as well as Google Campaign Manager. And then on where we can send data, so Adobe Analytics and Google Analytics are the two most common, but we also can send data to any of the cloud storage providers, so Box, Azure, S3, as well as Google Cloud. And then obviously what we've been spending a lot of time talking on today, the Bitly integration. And then in addition, we have our own API, which a number of clients and partners are starting to integrate in creative ways.
Great, thank you both. The next question posted here. How do I get my teams and the agencies I use to buy into this process of link standardization optimization that you refer to?
Yeah, I can start with that. I mean, usually from our side, what we've seen is it comes kind of as an initiative driven from the brand's perspective of wanting to standardize everything from naming conventions to links and how they describe all the different activities across their marketing organization. And in many cases, the agencies are willing to, kind of buy into this because there is automation that helps make their jobs easier as they're launching campaigns. So any sort of time savings while increasing data quality is usually a pretty easy conversation to have.
Great, thank you, Chris. Another question here that's somewhat related, it seems. How long did it take for that example customer you shared to get this all up and running?
Sure. The integration itself is all self-serve. So connecting, the credentials into your Bitly account and being able to, determine what branded domain you want to use to import that data. And then, rolling out the changes to the different teams that should have access to use it. In this instance, it was very, very quick because they were already kind of fully adopted on Claravine. And so it, made their lives easier to be able to do everything in a single place and get all of the Bitly links back, as well as have all the data mapped into their analytics platform.
Yeah, and on the Bitly side, our most of our customers are, up and running in minutes to get started. I mean, it's what the beauty of being a SaaS platform. We have, for example, just getting your custom domain set up. We've introduced this one-step custom domain setup that's streamlined. There's very little to it, and you can search for and select a domain and get branded links going literally within minutes. And then even on our integration side, because we've got so many built out, those integrations happen very quickly as well. So, literally you're started within a few minutes, and, within a few days, you're up and running at full speed, leveraging Bitly's tools.
Great, thank you, Gary. Thank you, Chris. Another question here. Why can't I just use a spreadsheet and a UTM builder?
Yeah, that's probably the most common question we get in talking to customers or even talking to different groups who have been using spreadsheets. Spreadsheets will take you kind of up to a certain point, but any sort of change management, any sort of collaboration can be very difficult within a spreadsheet, especially as you're trying to roll out standardizations across the large enterprise organization. And then the other piece here is the campaign readiness and link validation that we do. As far as I know, Excel actually doesn't support that feature, so that's usually the big benefit that we can help automate some of the QA process and not only create the tracking codes, but also validate that everything is set up and properly working to collect the data once that experience goes live. So that's usually the one of the big value adds outside of a spreadsheet that they get.
Great, thank you. Well, that's all the questions we have time for now. If your question didn't happen to get answered and we missed it, expect a follow-up from us. And we want to thank you all for joining us, and we'll be in touch.